Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, July 30th and we are making good progress. We're in the third recording and we're on the Americas account. I desperately need somebody to come online so I can challenge them or they can challenge me on the Americas account so we can get that done. Otherwise I need, let's see, 3 games with the Paladin or Priest, which I can get rather easily, and then win a game with a Rogue Warrior. I need to get at least 2 of these done. Bigger issues certainly are just getting through the news. Just play this. So we've got a game on Steam called Ember Doom VR. It looks kinda alright, but I think it's a multiplayer in VR. No, it's single player. Requires VR. It's 15% off for $8.49. It looks kind of like a cutesy, short fantasy characters, and then it's a third-person perspective. It's almost like what if you were trying to make World of Warcraft right now, and you're playing as a wizard, and in one hand you're holding a spell selecting book, it seems, and in the other hand you have a so you play as the 4 classes of the original Ember Doom. So maybe there's some nostalgia to Ember Doom I haven't heard of, and they've made it into a VR game, which I don't think that's really fixing anything. Yeah, Ember Doom was released September 26, 2017, and it doesn't even have any user reviews. So, 5 user reviews in almost a year, and then they just released it as a VR version. I think we'll see more of this shenanigans happening, where games that are very unknown, never became popular, just try to re-release and resell the game, probably for more than it even cost originally in a VR form. Gematsu has an article, The World Ends With You Final Remix, details new pins, background music, and more. So is this coming to the West, and what platforms? Because I would want to play The World Ends With You, and I assume Final Remix is a remake of the game and just an improvement, so it's not the case of a game where it's a sequel and you need to play The World Ends With You first. The World Ends With You did come out, I believe, on like the DS in the West. Yeah, and inside there are badges and pins that you can get, so they're adding more modifiers, I suppose, for this game. World Ends With You is a half fighting brawler, beat 'em up game, and half music game, if I recall correctly.
Your magic shall not save you.
Of course, if you're, let's see, there's 92 background songs in this game, so that might be a slight problem to get it to the West, but I think they're all original music, so it's lesser of a problem. Back when I was watching G4 and X-Play a lot, which honestly I think I may have spent 4 or 5 years spending way too much time watching X-Play and G4. The World Ends With You would often get played. A lot of trailers would just get played. That they had entire shows that were designed around showing off trailers and nothing else. And I think The World Ends With You was one of the trailers that I saw way too often. The concept of G4 really was a terrible concept in the first place. They really only had 2 shows worth mentioning ever throughout their entire life. One was Attack of the Show, which was a general geek show that went for I think an hour, and X-Play, which was like a 30-minute show that that went for maybe you'd get a rerun of a 30-minute episode and then a new 30-minute episode every day, and then the rest of it was just reruns, and eventually it was just like Cops reruns. It made a lot more sense when it was Tech TV and G4 merged together. There is a very odd history of technology and PC shows, podcasts, and such trying to break into the video game culture and then deciding it's not worth their effort. At least in the case of Tech TV, once G4 bought Tech TV, pretty much all the tech stuff went away immediately. So but yeah, having an entire TV channel related to that is crazy. That being said, that is kind of what I'm doing with my channel too, is like every Monday through Friday there is more than 3 hours usually of content coming out, and usually on Saturday and Sunday there's at least an hour of Hearthstone footage coming out that's new, and that's kind of what YouTube has told me that the community wants, or what I've taken away from feedback, just on the number of people actually watching it. But if I was to try to do something beyond a primetime filling slot, if I was trying to have something for every hour, 24 hours every day of footage, even though I have like over 6,000 videos, 6,000 hours does not divide very well, because there's 30, let's say there's 30 days in an average month. That gives you then 200 some, what, 30 days divided into 6,000 hours would be 200 episodes per day. So then over the course of 10 months, I would have jobs done 24 hours of content. Yeah, interesting enough, now I think about it, I probably could rerun 24 hours a day of content and keep it cycling through enough that people would not see repeats until 10 months later, which is better than you probably would see on some TV channels. But yeah, that idea is crazy. Nobody's gonna watch that stuff unless YouTube changes it. Moving on, Eurogamer has an article: games with easy trophies help indie studios get the funding needed for future products. There's a lot of people this way, a lot of people buy it. So this is in defense of bad achievement games, particularly ones designed to flood Steam and other companies. Inherently, this is not the way to sell your game and prove your game has some quality. Is just to get people who are clearly sick. Like, clearly it's an obsession. It's OCD-ness to have the
Your magic shall not save you.
to want to get platinum trophies, to want to do all that. It's the same thing with Steam trading cards. Like, whenever there's a summer sale, I spend $10 to $20 buying trading cards to make badges for really no reason, and it's just turned into a sort of fun slot machine type gambling system. Really, it's really close to gambling. You know you're losing the money, and you know you're not going to really win anything back for it, or at least you hope. People who gamble know that. There's a quote here: "I got the platinum in 20 minutes. Can't really complain at £1.29." Honestly, I wouldn't be upset if achievements all just got removed or heavily regulated. Like, one achievement for beating the game, and that's it. Or one very specific achievement that is always tied to beating a game on any difficulty, and that's it. Because that's kind of the only equivalency and the only thing that I think you can even make a slight argument is important. Is that you ideally would want to see if somebody's beaten the game. Beyond that, you really don't care. Or you're getting into such specialist territory where you might care if somebody beat the game on the hardest difficulty if you've played that game and you know it. Otherwise, if you don't know it, it might be really easy to get certain games beaten on the highest difficulty. And then so many achievements are just doing silly things, and I like the silly things, and I feel like there should probably be a tier there. But clearly the achievement system as it stands is broken, and if people are selling bad games or trying to sell their bad games on the fact that it has easy achievements, that just gets it down to the phrase I use a lot, which is extremely low effort games. And that's all you can really call that. It's an extremely low effort game because it's selling itself not on the quality of the game itself. It's selling itself on achievements. Mostly this is just an article though to get me on the rant, and I'm not really even reading it. But I can't think that there's anything here that I would agree with. And that is part of the reason, certainly, why Steam has never really pushed achievements. But it is kind of weird that Steam has pushed trading cards, which is even more gambly and not tied to actually playing the game at all, because trading cards just drop at random. So they experimented with trading cards in a direction that I would say is the exact opposite direction than what I would want it to be. PC Gamer has an article. Check out the new flashy trailer for Jump Force, the Shonen Jump mashup brawler. Inherently, this might be a good game, but there's a high risk that Jump Force is just going to be average at best or worse. I'm seeing the Bleach characters fight mostly each other. They're also fighting Goku. The thing to remember, and you really can't forget this, there's been a long list of anime tie-in fighting games that have come out. And of the long list, there's only been a few that are actually good. And Jump Force brings in the Dragon Ball universe, which is well known. And most of the Shonen Jump things are well known, but it's not enough. to bring in any real new audience. Like, I don't think there's enough Bleach fans out there or One Piece fans out there in the West that are going to play this game because of that. So it's still going to be very much a niche product. Your Gamer has an article. Portal 2's co-writer Jay Pinkerton's now back at Valve. Subtitle is "This Was a Triumph." As far as I've heard, this is the he really hasn't said anything other than the story here explains it a little bit better. Valve veteran Jay Pinkerton has returned to the developer Valve after a year after he left the company. So it almost feels like this was a crazy internal struggle. Like somebody decided we just can't deal with this guy anymore, and so we're gonna quit because we refuse to work with some manager or something at Valve. And I'm not sure there really is any kind of manager at Valve, so that's kind of weird too. You know, there is definitely a possibility where people could have left Valve and worked for the son of Gabe Newell in his company, and that would have been an interesting thought too. But instead, Jay Pinkerton has returned. The other people who left that were high profile were Eric Walpole, Chet Falzeski, and Dota 2 writer Mark Laidlaw. So perhaps what happened here was that one of those people was not, like, they didn't want to work with, Jay Pinkerton didn't want to work with one of those people, and one of those people went. Like, generally speaking, you don't do these kind of things. You don't work somewhere, quit because you hate your coworker, and then your coworker quit, and then you get hired back. But it almost feels like this is an effort by perhaps Gabe Newell himself, perhaps somebody else who's smart and has some power and is in charge in their very weirdly structured flat company. Perhaps they're trying to right the boat and get somebody on who will act as a writer for a new game that is actually being developed by Valve. Maybe that is the case. Or maybe there's something more nefarious here if we're going to speculate. Tinfoil hat time. Maybe Jay Pinkerton was applying to work for the creators of Firewatch. Then Valve acquired the Firewatch creators, or maybe he was applying to work for some of the other companies that Valve has recently applied, and thus Jay Pinkerton ends up working for Valve regardless of whether he wanted to or not. There certainly have been some rare instances in which that has happened also. So this. Pinkerton also not only co-wrote Portal 2, he also contributed on the Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. He also penned the Team Fortress 2 comics. Generally speaking, though, I don't think you just fire somebody and then rehire them. Unless he had some kind of weird health issue, and if there was a weird health issue, that's still really the wrong way to do that, and technically illegal in the United States to fire somebody because they're sick. You can have infinite disability and you should take it. Even if you're not getting paid, being on disability and technically working for a company is better than being unemployed. And really, it doesn't feel like there was any announcement or talk that Jay Pinkerton was working for any other company for that year's time. This is an interesting story, kind of out of nowhere, but from PC Gamer. What is the Windows.old folder and how do you get rid of it? The Windows.old folder is where Windows installer puts your old version of Windows if it's corrupt and it can't just be imported in. Nowadays, I think you're less likely to have a Windows.old folder when installing Windows, but it's kind of there for a reason. It's your old files, so you don't want to just delete it. But there definitely are some things that you probably could delete it. Let's see, it says the Windows 10 updates before the 2016 anniversary edition keep Windows.old for around for 30 days to give you almost a month to roll back if you want. Well, I didn't even realize they had put a timer on it. Inherently, if I found a Windows.old folder, maybe you should rename it and keep it as a sort of backup in case there's some files you've forgotten about. You have to be 100% certain that there's nothing there, because it's your user documents, I think, are in there, and Windows. Like, under that folder, you probably delete all of the Windows part of Windows, but the things in the user folders are the important things. That's your files. And the program files that are installed are the important things too. Of course, this is really just tech support at this point. I would recommend you burn a Windows.old to a couple, like 2 copies of a disk or external hard drives, probably is more realistic, and hold on to it as a backup. Generally speaking, when you're installing Windows, you're in the middle of having problems anyways. Well, I guess that was true until Windows 10 just forced you into updating a new version of Windows. But yeah, I don't really have much more to say there. Keep your backups. You never know when you're gonna realize that there was something from 3 years ago that you wanted to keep. And part of that certainly is that just being organized digitally is not something that comes naturally to me, at least. So having things all over the place and having things kind of randomly everywhere is pretty typical from my experience.
Let me change your mind.
There we go.
Shells up!
Job done.
We've got a game on Steam called Everything Will Flow. Let's see. Looks like it's a monochromatic grayscale type game. And it looks pretty simplistic too. Yeah, it seems like this is a limited artist who actually lacks the ability to draw specific things, if I was to guess.
Not all who wander are lost.
Let's see, this game, Everything Will Flow, is 10% off for 89 cents. It's in English and simplified Chinese, so it feels like it's a cheap Chinese game. Let's move on to the next game Because we're burning through time here, certainly. And while I'm not getting victories,
Job's done.
certainly running into other problems too. So we have, let's see, is this is a different company, or at least it's a developer saying a different company. A few weeks ago there was a game that came out on Steam. I think it was called Girls Fashion Show or something, where it was clearly a bunch of anime characters that had been stolen or purchased, let's just assume purchased, from the asset store, and then programmed to walk on a runway model. Let's try Rogue Warrior. I'm trying to get a victory here. Before we do that, nobody's online. Let's see. Let's just see if I can bait somebody to challenge a friend. Just chat with that guy and see if he responds. So now we have this mixed reviewed 56% positive of 36 reviews game called Girls Dance, which seems like it's the exact same game, except for maybe they've overlaid or asset flipped a music button mashing element to it. The problem with this game as a concept is that it really is just girls, well in this case dancing around, some on stage, they're all in bikinis. Their body figures are awful. Way too skinny hips, way too skinny waist, way too wide hips, way too large busts. It is not an hourglass figure, it is extreme body modification, corset training, longer legs than you probably would have, and mostly all the girls are just in different outfits and different hairstyles, but it's basically the same. I'd say some of the dances, it says there's a challenge mode, a free cam mode, and a private dance mode. It feels like they are stripper dancing on some of the footage I saw. It's like half performance stage dancing, half of it stripper dancing moves, and the screenshots seem to just be horribly overlaying the music element on top of it, and that's garbage. Well, he's not gonna respond. Alright, so did I even send him a message? I don't even know if the message went through. Okay. Rogue Warrior. Still trying to find somebody online. I may have to spend extra time tomorrow to try and find somebody online for the Challenger Friends. Here we got somebody on the chat putting Japanese or Chinese characters on there, or Korean characters. Actually, that looks like that might be Korean. Maybe a little too complicated for Korean. Anyways, it's not English. There's a rule for English. If you can speak English, please do so. Otherwise, I've got nothing I can respond to you, and I'm gonna have to just mute you because I can't read what you're saying.
The light shall bring victory.
Watch your back.
Let's see. Here's a not recommended review for Girls Dance saying that it's actually impossible to win, to beat the first level, and you have to cheat. Here's one. The animations are intolerable. The animations are tolerable, but fall a long way short of erotic. The music though, is really bad, so much that it's better to play it. When it's muted, the game itself is a struggle for me, and I am loath to invest much time into getting better at it. Could have been done a whole lot better with decent animations, music, improved gameplay, probably on the back of an established game studio with a number of already developed characters. The kiss of death, though, is it gets boring ever so quickly. Pretty elegant review of that game. Girls Dance.
Here we go.
The thing that catches my eye about this, Girls Dance, by the way, is 20% off for $1.59, is this clearly is from a developer who has already been like banned off Steam, like for the previous game, or they took the game off. Maybe not banned. Honestly, it certainly is a trick I've heard about, where people take their games off Steam and then put them back on Steam just so they're on the new releases list. And that is inherently, this is the type of game and the reason why Steam is de-emphasizing new releases for popular new releases, is because people have manipulated the system. I don't think Steam is really addressing the problem there, but they're trying to fix it in some way that they can. The thing that really needs to happen is that there needs to just be a better way for the end customer to do some quality control over what they see. And because Valve has taken this no censorship policy for as much as they can legally, and I agree with that policy, and so going from that perspective, the new releases page really is something that just is going to have to be made over time, capable of being filtered better by the end user. And that's pretty easy to do. Like, that game had anime as a tag. If you just say, I don't want to see any anime games in the new releases feed, and even if you want to see them in other places, that would eliminate a lot of the garbage games. If you say, I don't want to see anime, I don't want to see visual novels, I don't want to see games from developers who haven't developed anything else, that would eliminate a considerable portion of the bad games I've seen. Let's see. Next game we have on Steam is called Car Crash Online. It has no user reviews. It's single player and multiplayer. It says it's E for everyone. I don't know if I believe that. It's 40% off for $5.99. It looks alright, but limited. Inherently, making a car game that is designed around just crashing the car. So it's kind of a demolition derby, but it has all these spinning poles and hammers and ridiculous triple loop-de-loops in the background and ridiculous ramps. I think all the minutia of what you would expect in a car game is just not something you can deliver on as an independent developer. This game definitely looks like it's an attempt to make a cross between the TV show Wipeout and the car game, but it's just made in Unity, and it's just a collection of pretty decently sourced assets. But yeah, it doesn't look bad, it just doesn't look good enough. And one of the things that's really killing it is the fact that it has like a health bar and a money heads up display that looks bad. And yeah, no time to get stuck on games though. So there was this slight story. It came and went pretty quickly. Honestly, a game called Abstractism, Abstractism, has been removed from Steam for quote-unquote cryptojacking. The accusations came out. I'm not sure that there's a 100% like person that's gone into the code and decompiled it and looked at it and confirmed this, but the game is getting flagged by virus scanners as Bitcoin mining. The way the game is designed, in which they tell you need to be online on Fridays so that they can refresh the items, sounds a lot like refreshing the items actually meant so we can download the Bitcoin hashes and take them for ourselves. And on top of that, they were selling and then manipulating the names and pictures of items that they were selling to hide the fact that they were selling items that were designed to look like very expensive Team Fortress 2 items, and that way it was a kind of bait and switch type fraud in which you would get offers for Team Fortress 2 items, that things that look like Team Fortress 2 items but really weren't, and weren't valuable because of that. So this gamesindustry.biz article goes into it, I think, probably a little bit further, but the end result is, as it came out in what seemed like less than 24 hours, Steam removed the game and the developer was banned from the platform, which is certainly reminds me of some of the games that I have gotten for free or maybe even paid for that were really cheap, that eventually just got removed from Steam because they were so bad and they were just basically scams. Still trying to do challenge a friend. Let's see, what if we spectate this guy who's online. He's probably not anywhere close to losing or winning. Yeah, this is still 5 minutes away. Like, I really wish there was a way to challenge a friend and then have it in a queue and let the person know that they're challenged, even if we're both playing other games. Let's see. Meanwhile, I need a paladin victory. So let's see if shield works. Next game we have on Steam is called Sage 3D. It looks like an awful... It says it's a casual puzzle strategy game, but it does not look pretty. Looks like Windows 95 3D graphics and a weird isometric presentation with no widescreen, but instead of it just being black borders on the side of the widescreen, they're actually animating colors of ugly orange gradient. Sage 3D is 10% off for $8.99, which is laughably way too much. I wouldn't pay 69 cents for this game, but it's there if you want to look at it. Let's see. And I believe it was Sid Alpha, a YouTuber, that broke this, and I've only recently started watching him, so he might be breaking out as a as a YouTuber getting more viewers. According to PC Gamer's coverage of this game, there's another game by this developer that's still available. And these are really just like troll games and scam games. I think if they just filtered that out, that I'd be okay with Valve saying clearly this is a troll game, clearly this is a this is a scam, this is not, it's not as its first thought trying to make a good game on Steam. That's a very vague definition certainly, but it is probably the best definition I could think of. That I only want games on Steam where their first and major goal is to be a good game. If there's a game on Steam where their goal is to sell you loot boxes, I don't want them there. If their goal is to rip you off and sell you a bad product, I don't want them there. If their goal is to sell you trading cards, I don't want them there. If their goal is to give you 4,000 achievements, I don't want them there. The Steam sells games, I want games. And what I define a game as is something that wants to be a game and good. Moving on, we already talked about Digimon Survive, so we don't really need to cover Tech Raptor's coverage of it. It's all the same trailers. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Playground Games has hired BioWare, EA Motive, and Rocksteady talent for an upcoming RPG. Forza Horizon developer also welcomes developers from Ninja Theory, Guerrilla Games, and more to Second Studio. So it seems like Playground Games is trying to ramp up and be a bigger game. There we go, friend request. So hopefully the person who just friended me will send me a challenge when I get out of here. I'll stay out after this game. Like right now I'm trying to get a victory, but after that point we'll be good. Yeah, seems like Playground Games hired 6 guys. The SJWs are gonna be upset about this one. There's 6 white looking guys have been hired, although these are all black and white photos, so I don't know if these are ID photos they took of these people. I think it's kind of weird even putting photos of your employees out as a press release or anything. It just seems like you're violating your employees' privacy for no reason. So the new recruits are Noel Lucaswitch, Rob Dean Deckler, Scotty Brown, Chris Goodall, Joe McKernan, and Martin Lancaster. So unless Noel Lucaswitch is, like, he looks particularly tan, so he might be not straight United States white guy. And this is maybe they're all UK people. Actually, this is from a UK editor. But the point still stands. SJWs will not like that. They will certainly complain. Of course, if you're promoting a meritocracy and you're hiring people who are actually important to the success of other companies and who have skill, it doesn't matter what they look like. And I'm really getting into yet another rant that I don't have time for. We've got a game on Steam called Another World Truck Driver. This looks like a game I could have ignored completely. Looks like it's a SimCity game where you're just designing the roads and that's it, and then you're designing a car in a secondary sim. part of the game, and like I don't even see in the screenshots if there's a point where yes, you do eventually drive the truck.
This last act of sacrifice is mine.
Remember, kill the loss.
There we go. So yeah, another world truck driver, not a game worth playing. 10% off for $8.99. That's ridiculous. Rock Paper Shotgun has an article. Moonlighter's more stock update adds extra loot in Angry Floors. I'm still not sold that I really want to play Moonlighter, but more of an update would be certainly appreciated.
My blade be thirsty.
Part of the problem certainly is Moonlighter is just $20, and it's not something that like. People review it highly. It's 74% over its lifetime. I should just trust the general public because my taste in video games aren't that eclectic that I'm out of line or different than most video game players, or all video game players.
Reporting for duty. Remember, kill
So I should just try Moonlighter. But I'm a little afraid. After playing Stardew Valley and not really liking that was a problem. We have Kakagobo saying, "Hello Rydo, it's been a good time since I came here last time." Yeah, it has been a while. Hello. Let's see. Got a whole list of games I needed to go through. Let's see. We have a game called Sci-Fi Highway Racer. This is yet another one of these games that it's just a collection of women models. These aren't anime girls, at least this time, and they're just dancing around in. They're using the same dance even. Like the animation, the poses are specifically pre-bought. The 3D models are pre-bought. Everything here is an asset flip. And the girls dancing around in this trailer have nothing to do with the game. They're literally in front of the camera blocking your view, in which you're supposed to be selecting a car to drive. This thing looks like a mobile game.
Remember, kill the loss.
Let's see if I play this. Can I play anything? No.
Reporting for duty.
So it took half of the trailer, a minute and 15 seconds basically, to get to actual gameplay, and the actual gameplay of this game is just an ugly looking, like, kind of hover car racing game. We're seeing more of these games where well, this is actually from the same developer that made Sniper Zombie Killer, which did the exact same thing. But generally speaking, we're seeing more games where sex is just getting added as an attempt to trick people into buying the game. This Sci-Fi Highway Racer is 40% off for $5.99. Ridiculously expensive for asset flip garbage. There he is. There we are. That's what we wanted. And we'll just play this. And we'll go. Yeah, it's right on time, really. As soon as Steam said they were going to go with a no censorship policy, even though they still kind of have some weird censorship policy in place internally until they get the new, whenever, if ever, they get the new filtering equipment, filtering features enabled into Steam. as soon as Valve announced that there was a no censorship policy, people started working on these terrible games, and we're gonna see probably a flood of these. I don't know, maybe this is the politics of it. Maybe it was 100% the intention of Valve to let the Valve marketplace get flooded with terrible games like Sci-Fi Highway Racer. I keep forgetting the name, it's so generic. And then maybe that would bring the video game community in line with a more pro-censorship stance, so maybe they're trying to swing opinion in the other direction. That's a very tinfoil hat theory, certainly, but the way Valve implemented things is just very weird. Like, the fact that these games, that Sci-Fi Highway Racer, can get released on Steam Direct with apparently nobody looking at it for quality, or the fact that it's selling on sex, whereas a actual quality looking game with anime girls gets a note saying that they're being held back from release, which at this point, that game being held back from release ruins their launch date and severely reduces their ability to sell their game. Sci-Fi Highway Racing, by the way, tagged with nudity, tagged with sexual content. So even if you were just looking at games tagged that way, you should have, somebody should have seen this game before I saw this game, which is to say that it should have been looked at before it was made available to be publicly viewed. We have a Destructoid article. I don't really read Destructoid articles. It's a review of Code of Princess EX, which I believe is a side-scrolling hack and slasher game for the Switch. Maybe it's for the PC also. It's 8.5. Looking at the game, because the main character is in the skimpy bikini, you could certainly assume it was going to be a bad game. It's from the publisher Nicholas. They usually do pretty good stuff. That's the developer of Super Meat Boy and several other games. I think.
For the light.
Let's see what I'm trying to find here in this Destructoid game. Is not really, this Destructoid article is not really helping me with this. Is if this is on Steam. And I'm not finding that, so let's just Google search it. Code of Princess on Steam is
What would Uther do?
something. So that game's there. But I'm not sure if the EX game is there.
Reporting for duty.
Gotta make sure I'm still playing. Interesting, Nicholas hasn't even updated their own website, so the game may not be out. Yeah. It's only for the Switch. So while
Which path to choose?
the EX version is only for the Switch right now, I guess that's why I'm not following it. But there is this other game on Steam called Code of Princess that looks like it's the actual predecessor, and so there might be an update. Right now the game is mixed reviews at 60%, so it would really need some polish and a new update, I would say, that convinced me to want to play it. But I am gonna wishlist it just to make sure I can look at it later. Keep on playing. Next game we have on Steam is called Mutation Phase, and boy does this just look like an asset flip. The character that they've created is like a monster, or the character that they probably repurposed those monsters. These mutant looking creatures. The problem is that you're still like in early 2000s 3D level of graphics, and you're just in an empty forest shooting all these monsters, so it's just not worth it. It's 20% off for $6.39. Yeah. And this first game from that developer, Mutation Phase, not worth playing. Next game, also probably not worth playing, is called Automatum, A-U-T-O-M-A-T-U-M. They say it's a 2D action platformer game with dark pixel art style. Dark pixel art style. I would call it, this is a tiny pixel art style in a game that is a Super Meat Boy-esque running and gunning wall platforming experience with some bullet hell elements, definitely, and a just really fast-paced movement beyond what I would want. I should have played this first. With all those traps.
Reporting for duty.
Hey, catch!
Job's done.
Darn it. Yeah, I don't think I see anything in Automatum that makes it look good or interesting. 42 Steam achievements seems a little high. 20% off for $4.79. The price of games I've seen today have all been rather high for pretty bad quality ones. In fact, only 5 or 6 games have even caught my eye, and they were from last week. Next game we have is called Into Oblivion, which is a drinking contest of ridiculous proportions. Seems like this is a MS Paint animated game that's seems to be almost like a card game mixed with a drinking game mixed with a bunch of other things that don't inherently make sense.
Reporting for duty.
Go ahead and play that.
To battle.
Go ahead and play that, I guess. Yeah, it's 15% off for $1.69, and at the very least, Into Oblivion has the price right. I'm still not really interested in playing it, but at the very least, they're not trying to rip you off with $10 games. Our friends at Big Fish Games have another point-and-click hidden object game called Whispered Secrets Golden Silence Collector's Edition. They're always overpriced at $12.99 with no discount. And once a week you get another one of these. Like, at least they're not doing it once a day. Okay. Did that work? No. Because the guy conceded. Or it didn't go long enough. Why did that not work? Come on. Like, you can't concede. You have to play it to the end. And you have to play a certain number of turns too. Pondering new quests. Challenge. Alright. Maybe I was taking too long playing to play. People do have to kind of bear with me as I'm covering the news and multitasking there. Let's see. Seriously? Come out of whatever menu you're in so I can just challenge you. See how far this guy is. Oh, see, he's about to win. We've got a game called Guardians of the Past. Well, maybe he's not about to win. Let's see, what is Guardians of the Past? It's a fast-paced arena brawler where you gadgets to battle with and against your friends in a variety of arenas constructed by you. So it seems like it's kind of an asset flip game with at least the concept of having the players interact and create the arena. It actually looks pretty nice and it's animated well. So honestly, I kind of have to take back the accusation of a seriously, no, don't go away. Freaking hey. I'm starting to hate the Challenger friend. I got a lot of friends on here that never play Hearthstone anymore. A lot of people that have been missing for more than a month. And a lot of people that aren't online in the evening or ever. A lot of people that just refuse to ever be friended in the first place. Oh, this is so frustrating. Well, let's move on. We're still looking for Paladin and Priest victories. Which I didn't get a victory either. Because that guy quit too early. Yeah, I have to take back my initial criticisms of Guardians of the Past. It's an early access game. It's 10% off for $16.19. But I actually want to keep an eye on this one. And I'm going to wishlist it and see what the reviewers say. Unless this is a multiplayer only game. Yes, it is a multiplayer only game. Oh, good. There's my excuse for not playing that game. Otherwise, though, if you do want to play a multiplayer game, maybe that'll work.
Arthas versus Jaina.
Next game on Steam is called Final Beast Project Aura US version. Project Aura sounds familiar. It says the world is on its way out and not the way you would think. Something powerful is coming to bring mankind to its knees. Nothing can stop it. Step into the shoes of the New Shield Entertainment's first heroes and vanquish the threat or die trying. And this is tagged as action, gore, violent nudity, and sexual content. And
Now, what would Uther do?
The light dims, but we
this seems like this is a crazy fast running game that's feels like almost like it's being run through an emulator improperly. or just a horribly programmed game. The game does not look new. Let's see, when does the game come out? It says July 26, 2018.
Time runs out
And I
on me.
assume the US version implies that it's been censored. Although the graphics look so bad here, any nudity or sex you see, you're gonna not enjoy. 5% off for $18, and Fallen Beast is the first game ever released from New Shield Entertainment, and they're saying that like New Shield Entertainment
Repent.
is some company's name that you should recognize. Let's see. It says it expands over 3 discs, so yeah, this must have been a really old, like 3 floppy disk game. So there might be some history here, but probably not anything worth really talking about. Let's see.
Which path
I want to see if there's a non-US version that is being released on top of the US version on Steam.
Repent.
No, it doesn't seem like there's a non-US version. So even if this is an old game, they really should say what year it comes out. The idea of a story which expands over 3 discs, I'm assuming they mean floppy disk. 3 CD-ROMs would be interesting, certainly. They got to the point where 3 or 4 CD-ROMs games existed. Really long games. Might have more than that.
Is here.
job done?
Nowadays, if you said a game expanded across 3 discs, it would be like it's expanding across 3 512 gigabyte SSDs or something, which even at that point, that'd be like 1.5 terabyte large games. That would be actually quite impressive. Or 3 like 4 gigabyte or 2 gigabyte hard drives. I mean, 2 or 4 terabyte hard drives would be massively impressive. Gamasutra has an article. NetEase invests $50 million into Improbable to use the spatial OS in upcoming games. I think we may have talked about this already, but I'll mention it again as I'm trying to burn through the news. And I guess we're gonna have to make a 4th recording today.
Shall not fall.
I don't see how we don't do that. It's been an hour. I'm still struggling to find somebody to actually come online and play me to the full completion of a game. You know what I should do after this game? I should log out and log back in and see if maybe it would encounter that game differently. We have a game here called Urban Explorer Golf on Steam, which is a puzzle golf game. For the most part, it looks like it's badly animated asset 2D flip, like 2D assets in a crazy mini golf set of collections. I've seen similar games that were like this.
You win this.
Well, I guess I can take the victory there, but this doesn't look interesting enough for its ugly graphics. It's 20% off for $8.79 for Urban Explorer Golf, but yeah, not good looking enough. Alright, and we need 2 more victories, and Ooh, challenge a friend. Let's just see if he responds. Alright. Now let's just play this and go. We'll just go a little longer. Maybe I can burn through all the news. I have a game on Steam, OCHKARIK. It's a simplistic platformer game that looks pretty awful. This looks like a second or third year video game programming student's effort. Something you turn in as a project, but something you really wouldn't sell because the art isn't there, and this is just a platforming game. Inherently, you see there's definitely a problem with how I at least perceive that video game programming is taught, and I think this is definitely the case, because platformers haven't been an important style of gameplay, really. Side-scrolling 2D platformers haven't really been an important style of gameplay for many decades now, 2 or 3. Like Super Mario Brothers, yeah, side-scrolling platformer makes sense, but you don't see that anymore. Not even in Mario. Like, everything is 3D now. If you're gonna do platforming, it needs to be 3D platforming. This game is 40% off for $1.19. Yeah, I wouldn't buy it. Definitely wouldn't recommend it.
Silvermoon shall not for Lorthamar.
For the sky.
Next game we have on Steam is 25 Cadre of Death. C-A-D-R-E is that word. Episode 1, your early access. It says it's an early access action adventure indie core game. What is it really? The dead city of Time Beach in the American state of Missouri, with the word Missouri completely misspelled if they're trying to spell the state of Missouri. They spell it M-I-S-U-R-I.
Remember Kel'Thalas. Reporting for duty.
For the scourge.
Yeah, this looks like this is just some slightly good looking asset flips of a desert world and an abandoned desert section, and some zombies are going to come crawling and attacking you. Actually, it does not look too bad at all. How can I justify buying this though? It's 10% off for $7.19.
Toast.
Maybe that's the joke. Trying to. It says not a linear plot, many different options for the outcome of the plot. Realism, minefields, roadblocks, the ability to hide from enemies, chemical emissions with sandstorms.
To Northrend.
For the scourge.
I cannot do that. To battle!
Remember Kel'Thalas. Victory!
Yeah, this game looks really good, but it's promising a lot too. It's an Unreal Engine 4 game. I'm gonna keep an eye on this one, just out of curiosity more than anything. 25 Cadre of Death. Going to the wish list just to keep an eye on it. Next game we have on Steam is called Undead Legions 2. It's like a flat comic booky art style of a top-down twin-stick shooter kind of gauntlet game, bullet hell game. It looks like it's a mess to look at.
This last act of sacrifice. Reporting for duty. Remember Kel'Thalas. The battle.
And and just not fun to look at. Let's see. Early access 20% off for $5.59. I'm such a visual snob on games. Like, for a top-down, flat 2D comic book art style, it looks rather good. But I'm not a huge fan of twin-stick shooter bullet hells to start with, and the graphics don't help. So I'm gonna close Undead Legions 2. PC Gamer has an article, How Games Are Built and Rebuilt for Conventions, Crafting the Perfect Showcase. This is probably an interesting story, just talking about how some games are changed drastically in an effort to make it appeal more. I could have played that and won. Actually, if I played that, hit something, lost my shield, he would have gotten 6. I could have done it. One there. But yeah, I really don't have time to read this PC Gamer article about remaking games for the convention presentation, so I'm gonna close it. Next game we have on Steam is called Navigator. It's a Unity cheap game of a maze runner. It's totally not worth purchasing for the full price of $2.99. I wouldn't get it for 69 cents. It's basically just an experiment somebody did to try and figure out how to program Unity. Would be my guess at least. See, if this guy gets played, well, there's a shield guide, and this guy's on the ground. I would then get an improvement on both. See, it works that time. And then that just leaves me, I don't want to take up other people's times. That just leaves me with this. So let's keep on playing. Gamma Sutra has an article, Get a Job, Join Remedy Entertainment as a VFX artist. That's in Espoo, Finland. I feel like this job and several jobs that get listed on Gamma Sutra just get republished like every week, and then they get republished on the weekly roundup on the weekend. So you see the job listings way more often than they probably should be shown, particularly for a lot of people who can't or don't want to work in the industry. Rock Paper Shotgun has a article, What I Think About La Mulana 2. La Mulana certainly looks like it is a Spelunky-like game. Maybe it's going for a slightly more Metroid-esque game. It is labeled as a Metroidvania game. I think I'm gonna have to play La Mulana 1 first if I was gonna get into that.
Which path to choose?
16 user reviews right now for La Mulana. It's 100% positive. So those 16 people are getting what they want. I didn't particularly find Spelunky amazingly fun. So if you took this game that looks like Spelunky and you made it a Metroidvania game where you're not just instant dying and or I guess, yeah, Metroidvania games wouldn't be instant dies. That would be a rogue game or a roguelike game. So
Must act now.
I need to end my turn. And this is from a developer who's put several games on Steam. Yuminiki Dream Diary, I guess, might be the biggest one to catch somebody's attention, or Yumi Miki. Not sure that they inherently always do good games. Let's see, I'm trying to find
What would Uther do?
La Mulana 1 on Steam. Let's see if we can find that.
Let me light the way.
Yeah, here it is. La Mulana 1, which was released April 15th, 2013, is mostly positive in the last 30 days with 72% and very positive with 83% over its lifetime. So yeah, these seem like they're slightly sleeper hit type games. The graphics look old school, and I don't particularly think old school is great. This looks like a Ghost and Goblins type ripoff.
I'll never tell.
Let's see. Okay. Alright, moving on. We have a game called Kingdom, King-DOM, which, to my mind, that immediately just translates to the king of a dominatrix. But I don't think that's what they mean. It's a 2-player online game. Choose your opponent from Steam friends list. Chess. It is an edgeless landscape called Kingland with upgrades. So apparently the chess. No, it's just regular chess, just with a really ugly skybox and borders around, and it's just awful. Awful looking game. Yeah, I cannot
What would Uther do?
recommend any of this at all. Seems like there might be something weirder or crazier about it, but it's just in that. Yeah, it seems like maybe chess pieces can move from one board to the other, as if you're... But if it's an online game, I don't know how any of that works. So you have a hideous looking online game for $3.99 that is also boring chess. No thank you. Moving on, Gamma Sutra has an article. FIFA's mobile debut in China brings EA to its highest grossing day for a mobile game. So yeah, that's
Let me light the way.
not super surprising. Let's see. Says this is one of those financial reports that Gamma Sutra does every now and then. I don't really care. FIFA got EA some money. Next game we have on Steam is called Horde Zombie Outbreak, and like any zombie game, there's a high risk of it being a bad game. Seems like you're controlling a bloodthirsty horde through an area and trying to, you know, crush the surviving humans and take over control of the city. It's interesting. It's kind of a cartoony animation style that I slightly disagree with, but it does seem like there's a considerable number of zombies that you can have on screen.
Job's done.
See, so Horde Zombie Outbreak is 40% off for $6.59. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. Like, right now it doesn't look so bad to reject it. And the concept is kind of intriguing. Feels kind of like a Pikmin with zombies, which would make sense. Any game where you play as the zombie is at least doing something a little bit different. Next game we have on Steam is called Last Bite, B-Y-T-E Standing. Seems like it's a VR, stand in one place and shoot pixel blocks.
Which path to choose?
Close the gates! Reporting for duty.
Let's see. There. Let's see. Last Bite Standing is 30% off for $10.49. It seems to say that it works with or without VR.
Defend the gates!
That's always weird how things are labeled. Most things say you need VR. Some things don't seem to say that, but I'm not sure that's actually the case. Moving on, Gematsu has an article, Dragon Ball Xenoverse series shipments and digital sales top 10 million. So, this is all of the Xenoverse games, so Xenoverse 1, 2, 3, and any spin-offs or such. So, I'm sure they're happy for 10 million. I also kind of feel like that's probably not as big of a number as you would really think it is. There we go.
To battle! Incoming!
Job done.
So we've got a joke game
Behold
here
the might of Stormwind!
called Granny's Grandtastic or Grand Venture, and you're playing as a grandma in a wheelchair, and the graphics don't look great, but it's a first-person perspective, and so you're going through a ridiculous house that is got like floating objects and platforms, and you're trying not to fall over, and there's elevators and platforms and swinging hammers. Just like ridiculous things. There you go. I kind of want to play this game. Like, it's ridiculous, but it is also kind of ridiculous in the right way. Although, I think it's also VR. Yeah, it requires VR. So it's 10% off for $8.99. Man, I wish I wasn't in VR, because playing a game where you're stuck in a wheelchair and not being like Wolfenstein 2 where you're stuck in a wheelchair but you're still very capable is an interesting idea. Let's play a few games. We're not going to go for a fourth recording. We're just going to go long in this recording at this point. It's a shame. But then again, this game probably was just a joke game, a troll game, and it's probably not that good or that long.
Anduin versus Gul'dan.
Your soul shall be mine.
The light shall bring victory.
don't need to talk about that one. Next game we have on Steam is called Dare Course. It again looks like Wipeout. In fact, looks exactly like a Wipeout clone, which is weird because I think there's probably already a Wipeout game on Steam. There definitely was one. There's definitely one on like the Xbox 360 that was actually really good. And see, I think inherently that's the thing, is that to make a Wipeout game where it's designed around the idea of really tight controls, you would have to be a really good programmer. And that's not who this publisher, this developer is. They're selling this game in a bundle that just has ridiculously random games that they're trying to sell, and none of them seem to have been reviewed or reviewed well. Mafia Gambling, Skyhawk, Not So Middle Ages, Guilty Summer Kiss, that looks like a visual novel. Stalker Crab Simulator, just like stopped using the phrase fake games, but very low effort games. And even though this Dare Course does look good looking, the publisher, the developer, has such a bad credibility that I wouldn't bother to buy this game. It's 30% off for $4.19, so it's not even asking that much, but I'm still not really interested. Let's see. We got a game called Team ARG Anthology, a PC-based time capsule of Arduino games. Interesting. Arduino, if you're not familiar, is a tiny single board computer that, generally speaking, only has a couple of gigs of RAM and only runs like less than 1 gigahertz processor, maybe 2 cores, maybe 1 core. They're rather powerful chips if you're just trying to build something to flash a light bulb on and off, or take a temperature, make a weather station, make a scale, make a single device that possibly needs to sample a lot of times and doesn't need a full operating system like Linux running on it. However, it in no way compares to the Raspberry Pi, which is a single board computer that can and has to have an operating system on it, and even at that point, the Raspberry Pi still is a not very good computer compared to just the random PC or laptop you buy. That being said, Team ARG Anthology seems like they've done a decent amount of work here. The question is, how do these games, as far as to get these games, how do I put them on my Arduino, which I just got one during the Amazon.com Prime Day sales. Got an Arduino with a bunch of things to play around with it. Let's see, so the games included the Siren, Shadowrunner, Virus, LQP79. So what this needs to include is the Python data, the Python code, which is, or the MicroPython code that you would use on an Arduino, unless you're using some other kind of code on it.
You are the shadow's puppet.
And I don't think that makes sense. Like, I don't think you're getting that. So instead you're getting a PC version. I guess it doesn't matter. Play Team ARG Anthology is free. So I'll add it to my collection just for that. These games don't look great, and you would have to plug in on an Arduino some kind of monitor screen. It seems like at the resolution that's being shown, it would have been a really small screen. I bet this developer will never release anything else, or this publisher. I bet this is the only thing. So they're just hoping for. I should have done this first. Should have healed that first. Yeah, they're just hoping that Steam will be their preservation source in the place that keeps a copy of their game, which I don't know if that's true, if that's really how it's going to go down. Moving on, Gamer Sutra has an article. Spectrum ISP kicked out of New York for allegedly throttling online games and streams. I had heard Spectrum ISP had been kicked out of New York, and I think this is all of New York State, because they failed to maintain their agreement of delivering internet to the more rural areas, the farmlands, the areas with less people in it. All ISPs love to put in faster internet in big buildings and urban places where they can get lots of money for little work. Nobody wants to spend the money to run the internet to the one farmhouse that's a mile away from the last farmhouse. But it's important that everybody has equal access to actual high-speed internet, so everybody is on a equal playfield for getting news and entertainment and education. Ideally, if all public schooling became online,
Right away.
that wouldn't be a bad thing, although there's certainly some elements there that would have to be addressed, such as how disciplined and behaved are the kids who are going to school online, and how socialized are they, and is it necessary or needed to be disciplined, well behaved, or socialized in this future where everybody might go to school online. But yeah, it's also pretty hard to check to see if it's the actual student doing the work or if they actually understand what they're doing. Ideally, if I was going, when I was in school, if I was going to a school that was online only, I would have probably tried to figure out a way to hack it, and then 18 years free of not doing anything. Yeah, it probably wouldn't have worked. There's another rock paper shotgun article about this game, Heaven Will Be Mine. It doesn't look good at all. This game is very odd looking, and weird menus. It's some kind of sci-fi adventure where you can flirt with the cockpit of the plane that you're in, or the thing. It is basically how they're selling it. It feels a lot like this is Butterfly Soup all over again, where this game may have a liberal agenda in it, or push a liberal agenda, and that's why people are so into it. To me, this game does not look good, in the same way Butterfly Soup did not look good. So I think this game is already on my wish list, but I'll double check. Right now it's 96% positive of 75 user reviews. so it is hard to disagree with it. But graphically speaking, it certainly doesn't sell itself, and because of that, I am not hyper interested in it. Should have attacked first. Heaven Will Be Mine is 10% off for $13.49.
Quickly.
Next game we have on Steam is Detective Failure, or if you're to believe the thumbnail, it's Detective F. Failure. It's an RPG Maker game. That's pretty much all I need to say about it. Not worth playing in my opinion. $1.99. Yep. I'm not even gonna go any further with that RPG Maker games. Next game we have on Steam is called Dungeon Girl. It's tagged casual, anime, puzzle, visual novel, cute. It looks like it's a match 3 puzzle game with some RPG shopping elements, maybe. Dungeon Girl is a puzzle RPG with over 1,000 floors to conquer and 300 items to craft. The fun never ends. So you find the matches, and I assume finding the matches improves how much damage you're going to do.
Let me change your mind.
That,
Job's done.
yeah. Against the monsters. The animation style is a bunch of not super short. I'd say slightly taller than average moe anime girls. The animation style is pretty good, but slightly lacking. You could almost call it an artistic style. Maybe it is an artistic style actually. See, English and Japanese. 10% off for $10.79, and I'll keep an eye on this and see if it's a game I'd want to play. The idea of only having to go through 1,000 floors is better than a lot of dungeon crawlers that say they go forever or don't say how long they go. Depending on how long the floors are, that might be a nightmare. Certainly, but then there also has to be story, it seems like, wrapped around the floors. So if this was a 5 to 10 hour to maybe even 15 hour gameplay, that's great. If it starts getting to 60 or more hours, it seems like that would be too much. Game Sutra has an article, Disney's purchase of Fox moves Fox Next into the House of Mouse. So, this was July 27th, the final approval for the $71 billion purchase of Fox Entertainment by Disney happened. This means Fox Next is going to now be under, is it Disney Interactive that it will be under, or will it be under a different name or title? Let's see. It'll be under Disney's portfolio, so Marvel Strike Force, Family Guy, another freaking mobile game, as well as the VR products based on films like Planet of the Apes and Alien are now properties of Disney. It's not going to make a big difference. Certainly there's just always going to be some weirdness with Fox. Like the guy who's making the people who make Disney are also going to be making Family Guy and The Simpsons, basically. That's certainly going to be weird. One more game, hopefully. Gamma Sutra has a blog, From Consoles to Steam, Lessons Learned and Questions Raised from Lightfield. Too long, didn't read. Here's a few things we learned in the past 9 months between the initial console launch and and launching the Hyper Edition on Steam next week.
Smiles upon the just.
But it is not only things we learned, but also questions that came up that we still can't answer. Then there's a paragraph about background, a paragraph of lessons learned, and one titled Overly Ambitious. Let's see, a paragraph titled Not Enough Game, one titled Testing at Events and Conferences is Bad, and I would guess. One section that says what is your game and how to communicate it. Paragraph Expectations Management and Reviews. One called Hidden Complexity. One called Everyone is Genuinely Friendly. And then there's a Questions Arising. Online multiplayer, is it really needed? Effects of our launch performance. The good bits. And next. So, somebody wrote a blog. Basically, this is a blog that is promoting that game. But at least it's being done in a way that they are trying to trade some narrative of what it was like to relaunch a sequel or relaunch a new version of the same game, in this instance Lightfield, to a different console. Oops, I just clicked on that randomly. We've got a game on Steam called Escape Game. It looks like an extremely low effort game. So anything here that would make me give it even 5 more seconds of my time. No, I don't think so. It's early access, 40% off for 59 cents. And I'm so far beyond the point where I want to like play these low games. The only thing here, and I guess I'll keep an eye on this, is it is 95% positive with 21 user reviews. Because I imagine it does completely deliver what you expect. With a name like Escape Game, you expect an escape game. This is an escape game. It doesn't look particularly interesting or different, but at 60 cents, it's priced at the right price. Moving on, gamesindustry.biz has an article, Why Did Licensed Games Get Better? BD Labs' Mark Chaplin traces the industry trends that turned big name properties from a warning sign to a welcome addition. I think inherently the reason why licensed games got bigger is because the demands of the people who licensed them became better. In the old days, it was much more of a case of whatever, we don't care, we'll just license it to a video game and make some money off of it. It doesn't really affect our perception or our brand if a video game is bad. I think now people who have licenses realize, yes, a video game that is bad will affect your perception. I wouldn't be surprised if the people who licensed the Tolkien games were upset with Shadow of War, and definitely we know Disney was upset with Battlefront hurting the Star Wars brand. Gematsu has an article, Arc the Lad R has been announced for smartphones. Let's see if this is specifically in Japan or just everywhere. I don't know what Arc the Lad is, but I've heard the name. It's probably a JRPG. Well, the smartphone versions, this is the thing Japanese people have started doing, or have been doing, is they'll make smartphone versions with small chibi versions of their characters, so the smartphone game doesn't even bother to try to look realistic or have the same graphics art style as the rest of the game. The rest of the games in the series.
Let me change your mind.
Alright, close that. We already talked about this, but there's an update. We have a game called CONNECT01, and it's spelled lowercase con, uppercase ni, lowercase c, uppercase t, 01. It says it's a casual gore violent game. This looks kind of like a visual novel game animated by somebody in MS Paint.
Is someone injured?
They seem to, maybe they have a little bit of skill animating people, but the background stuff seems to be the quickest of the quickest sketches. It's like a trapped room. Yeah, it's an escape to room game more than a visual novel. Turns out. No, I don't think so. This game is 99 cents, and it just seems like it's a low effort, and I don't think I'd waste my money on a low effort escape to room game. They're low effort enough to begin with. Let's see if this game is even in English. Yes, it is. We have an English and simplified Chinese game called Love in School. Mostly positive, 78% positive of 23 user reviews. It's an RPG indie visual novel. The art style is actually very intriguing. It's very soft and pastel-like in its coloring. So that certainly catches my eye. It is a visual novel from Chinese people though, so I don't know how well it would be translated to English, and it seems like this is just a romance story. It's not tagged with any nudity or sexuality. It seems like it's just going for a simple sweet story. Here, 20% off for 79 cents. It says 20 minutes story flow, 10 scenes, 1 persona. So it is a game that I think you're only spending 20 minutes on in that instance.
Wow. Be reborn in the curse!
Yeah. Well, Love in School would be like a good intro visual novel, I imagine, if you're looking for romance visual novels. 20 minutes is not a commitment, really. It doesn't have any replay value, so that's a bad thing, but they're making up for it because the price is low. Next game we have on Steam is called Mojo Hanako, Hanako, and let's just read it. Mojo Hanako is a new version of the famous game 2048, an original approach to this well-known puzzle. Beautiful Hanako will keep you company during the game. The more points you get, the less clothing remains on the girl. So it's literally just 2048 with a girl losing her clothes, and she seems to start with different clothes based on what level you're on. I would say this character Hanako has a issue here of unrealistically large cleavage. Yeah. and a long neck, like unrealistically long neck. And the animation style is not great. I kind of get it. It kind of makes sense. It's the same thing I said about Sakura Clicker, that if I was going to play a boring clicker game, I probably would prefer to play Sakura Clicker and look at it than I would anything else. And the price is definitely right because this is free to play, but the graphics don't look very good. And it feels like this is
I must consider.
the recommendation here is to it's beatable within 35 minutes, and you can enable an 18+ version to it and decensor it. Interesting. It's interesting that that still is the case, that they're still censoring games to get them on Steam when Steam said that wasn't a requirement anymore. This is, however, from a developer that I believe is kind of just always doing lewd games. He has a whole series of XXZ, XXL, XX maybe Y, maybe not XXY, Dead DD, Dead Collection. It's like provocative games, definitely he's used to making. I wouldn't be surprised if we see several versions of Mojo come out on Steam with different characters, different names.
The Shadow's puppet.
Let's see.
Revenge.
Let's see, we got like 4 more games. There's a game called Gates of Avalon on Steam. It's the early access indie RPG. Looks like the graphics are a little low polygon, but not enough, I think, to justify ignoring it on that alone. I guess we'll go one more game, but have a 2-hour episode here at the end. What can we say about Gates of Avalon? Early access, $2.99. I'm gonna be generous and put it on the wish list and see what happens there, if it does anything.
Light smiles upon the
It's
just.
the first game from this developer, so there's no way to make a great decision there. Either I reject it and potentially ignore a good game, or I include it on the wish list to keep an eye on it.
Is someone injured?
Let's see, there's a Gematsu article talking about a game called Crystar, C-R-Y-S-T-A-R, giving some details. I'm not getting a lot from it though. So the main thing here to take away from this is Crystar is coming out for PS4 on October 18th in Japan. I think we'll get some more information later. From the screenshots, it seems like a wild, maybe Persona-esque JRPG type game. Bunch of anime girls. Very black and white in its themes, dark and depressing type of appearance. Far from your standard brightly colored characters. Next game we have on Steam is called Krampus is Home, and the animation on the trailer looks bad. It seems like this is a dark screenshot syndrome type game where everything is just incredibly dark and The animation looks fine because it's all just flipped assets. I don't know if there is anybody that actually, if a random stranger was attacking you or wandering around your house and you were looking for them, I don't see why that wouldn't be a better story than saying it's Krampus, because I don't think too many people, at least in the United States, even know who Krampus is, let alone have some pathological fear of him that makes sense. Krampus' home is 10% off for $8.99. Yeah, I don't think so. Just another horror wandering around style game.
Do my bidding. Tortola, preserve us.
See, and I don't think this game is even in English. Nope, it's only in Japanese. And you know, I sometimes complain about cheap Chinese games or cheap Russian games, and very rarely do I have an instance in which I can talk about a cheap Japanese game, but that is exactly what I'm looking at right now. This is an awful, awful looking game. I can't tell you what its name is because it's all in Japanese characters, but it is bad. Real bad looking.
Do my shells up.
Gamma Sutra has an article, finally, how a Gears of War developer built the chill shape of the world on the side. So there's this indie game called Shape of the World. I probably need to make sure that's on my wish list. And yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know what the question there is. It's pretty easy. Just don't work in the video game industry and have them take up your entire life. And if you do that, then you won't.
Do my bidding.
You'll have free time to work on a side project. And since this was a VFX guy, I imagine he didn't really have to work as much as some of the other game testers and programmers for Gears of War. Well, maybe the guy's just incredibly efficient, or maybe they were incredibly well staffed. It's not really an article that interests me as much as just the idea of
Where one falls, two shall
it's a increment and a recommendation on a game that's a surreal looking visual experience. It's 100% positive with 29 user reviews, and I do enjoy surreal art, so Shape of the World is a game that will go to the wish list. Of course, it'll be a long time since any game that makes it to the wish list is even up for consideration for purchasing, because yeah, even if there is a Black Friday sale or something like that on Steam, or a, I don't know, Thanksgiving Day sale, or what else, even like an end of the year sale. None of that. I don't think I have any money for any of that. I've spent a lot of money for a lot of different things this year already. It's been crazy, and particularly crazy considering, you know, YouTube's not paying me. Yeah, I'm not getting anything for doing this anymore at all. So I at the very best case scenario, people might begin donating games to me, but that's it. And I don't feel like I have enough followers or anything to justify making a Patreon. Nobody's ever said, hey, if you had a Patreon, I'd donate $5 a month, or heck, I don't know what the minimum is you could donate. Is it $5? Is it $2? Like, honestly, if somebody was donating $2 to me a month, that would be more than YouTube's paying me, because YouTube's paying me exactly actually $0. And giving me and all YouTubers a lot of frustration for the privilege of being on their service that gets worse and worse.
Awaken, my children.
Right away.
Job's done.
So I've gone through all the news, and here's a digital devolver celebrating Absolver getting 4 million copies sold. So for a limited time, everything is 50% off on Absolver. So I'm scrolling down my Twitter feed, and as soon as this game is over, we'll wrap up, and then I'll look at my Twitter feed some more and open up pages. We finally managed to get the Challenge a Friend quest done, so there's nothing really to do. Apparently Reigns has updated, which is, I assume, the original Reigns and not the sequel. It added 200 new cards, 3 new characters, and 5 new ways for the Queen to meet her end. Well, that does not sound like that's the original Reigns game. That sounds like that is the yeah. That seems like the new one's been updated. Alright, well, I just said I was gonna end the stream after this game, so let's end the stream after the game. Pretty good stream. Lots of people came on and chatted, and not a crazy lot of conversation back and forth on the chat, but still people said hi, and that is way better than it being silent. And overall, we got all the news covered, and we did it in a moderately reasonable amount of time of 4 hours. We'll be back on Wednesday, so we're done. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. When you subscribe, click the notification bell, please. If you want a friend or follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, Battle.net, or Facebook, all of those links are down below in the description box. And if you want to support me, friend me on Steam, gift me a game or a gift card, or direct message me a Steam code on Twitter. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.